so we're not expecting any of the other commissioners, correct? Okay, so the time is 7:00 PM on February 5th, 2024. This is the regular meeting of the Library Commission, and I call this meeting to order. Can we get a roll call, please?
Yes, Commissioner Koopman.
Here.
Commissioner Hall is absent. Commissioner Hayes.
Here.
Commissioner Morocco.
Here.
Commissioner Walls is absent. Commissioner Willers.
Here.
Okay, so we have a quorum and we can conduct business. And Commissioner Hayes, if you can lead us in the salute to the flag.
There we go. Okay, so if I remember. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay. Everybody had a chance to look over the order of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the order agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Kippen. Okay, thank you. And so, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And just so we're clear, is there anybody on Zoom or for public comment? Anybody out there?
There are no e-comments and no attendees for this
Okay,
item.
so the order of the agenda is approved. Are there any blue folder items?
No.
Okay. So we're moving on to the consent calendar. There's two items on the consent calendar. One is the affidavit of posting for the of today's meeting, and the other is the approval of the following the minutes for the December 4th, 2023 meeting. Do any of the commissioners wish to pull any of the items from the agenda?
I'd like to pull the minutes, please.
Okay. Anybody else want to pull anything?
No.
Okay, so can I get a motion to approve item F1 on the consent calendar, the affidavit of posting?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll do that.
Okay, and any public comment on that?
There are no e-comments and no attendees for this item.
Okay, so all those in favor of approving the affidavit of posting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, so the affidavit of posting is approved. We're on to excluded consent calendar item, and in that is item F2, approval of the December 4th, 2023 minutes. Commissioner Koopman, you were the ones who removed it, so what would you like to talk about?
Yes, it would be item I1,
I1.
the bullet points. YS programs, is that supposed to be YA programs?
It's actually youth services.
Oh,
so
youth services program.
we can, we can spell that out.
That would be great, thank you. Just, I didn't know what it was, so.
Yeah. We have our own library vernacular. Just call us on it whenever we use our abbreviations. Thank you.
Now I feel bad for pulling the minutes on that, but
Anything else?
I don't have anything else.
Any other commissioners have any comments on the minutes? Okay, I have a couple things on the minutes. And this is more of a minute stylist question,
Okay.
and I'm glad that we have people from the clerk's office on it. It says the motion carries unanimously with no objection. Isn't that a little bit redundant? The with no objection? Or is that like standard language that's going to be used?
What number is it?
It's throughout where it says motion carried unanimously. You can look at F2, that's where you'll see it the first time.
Also section D.
Okay, we're both live.
Which one is it? Is it this one with no objection?
That's an example.
Yeah, so Honorable Vice Chair and members of this board, each commission has its own style. If it's something that you prefer to change, this would be a great opportunity to do that. We do have a new minute secretary that is following examples from the past, but we are more than happy to relay whatever information you would like for the style to be modified if that's what the desire of this commission is.
Okay, we can deal with that in referrals to staff if we need to. so people can think about it. The other thing, there's in the public comment, actually it's in the J2, it's on page 4. There's a Chair Hall opened the floor to public comments, and he said, it says Michelle inquired. Her last name is WACHTFOGEL.
I'm sorry, what section is that?
It's on page 4, it's in section J2.
This is.
Right after it says Chair Hall opened the floor to public comments.
There's an indentation where the 1 is.
Open, okay. Oh, I see. So you're saying,
If you want to, again, I assume it's
Yeah.
stylistic, but
no.
that's her last name if you wanted to put it in there.
How do you
Okay.
spell it again, please?
WACHTFOGEL.
I'll have to.
And then in the next paragraph, it says, Library Director Vinke stated to his knowledge, the Beast Reporter, I think you were responding to the public comment, so it just seems out of context unless you change the word stated to responded.
Okay.
In the next paragraph, I'm also there responding to the public comment, and I suggested that she visit the Hermosa Beach Historical Museum, and at the end of it, it should say, of the microfilm at the library.
The microfilm at the library.
Yeah.
Or the microfilm at the museum, you mean?
I have a.
Go ahead.
That same page above, just the sentence above J3, motion by Commissioner Hayes, seconded by Vice Chair Morocco. It says to accept and file. Is a vernacular supposed to be accept and file or receive and file? I always thought it was receive and file.
You're correct.
And I think that's actually being consistent with what we have in other places on there. And then in fine free, on page 5, it's near the bottom, but it starts off, Vice Chair Morocco stated there was a specific proposal to consider that it be included in the packet. It probably should be more specific and say for fine free. And then on a little bit higher on that page where it says discussion ensued regarding addressing the languishing fines and hold fees. I do believe that Mr. Vinke said that there is no policy or procedures to deal with it. And I think that's an important part of the conversation that we'll be carrying forward as we talk about it. And that's all I have on the corrections. Anybody else have any more? Okay, any public comment on that?
There is no e-comments and no attendees for this item.
Okay, then can I get a motion to approve the December 4th, 2023 minutes as amended?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, there's a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so now we're moving on to item H, public participation on non-agenda items. This is the section where members of the public have an opportunity to speak. I've asked this question before. I don't see any members of the public here unless our staff from the clerk's office would like to speak. Is there anybody on Zoom or?
There is no one on Zoom and there are no e-comments.
Thank you. So then I will close public participation on non-agenda items. And then we move to items from previous agendas. There's nothing under that. So we'll move on to items for discussion prior to action. And item J1 is the director's report.
Yes, thank you. Well, it's been a busy couple of months. Wanted to give Commission an update on the vacant positions. We have selected a part-time administrative coordinator. They are working their way through the process. It's taking a little bit of time, but we understand that. So hopefully we'll have someone on board late February, early March, fingers crossed. We are actively recruiting for the part-time senior librarian position, part-time librarian, and we are going to request a library page recruitment because we have a vacancy to fill there. Currently, the vacant position duties are being generously distributed mostly to the library director, but to many others that get to partake in the fun. So for example, staff work on payroll. I, as the department head, have final approval. Karen Nakamura used to handle a good chunk of those duties, but those are now being handled by staff and myself. Aaron was doing the information desk schedules for both Maine and the branch. And at Maine, we have 2 desks. We have a youth services desk and what we commonly refer to as adult reference. Those schedules are being done by myself, again, with the help of staff. Mario Adame is taking a good chunk of the facility request work orders, which come in pretty frequently. I am relying on a lot of help from our city clerk staff to assist with library commission, but certainly taking over Aaron's duties in regards to that. I'm also handling the meeting room reservations. We have distributed material selection temporarily, communication. That's outside communication we see from the public. It's not the day-to-day kind of, I have a question, we refer those to the information desk. But those are a little bit higher level inquiries. And also what we call Comcate. That's when there's an issue that a person wants to direct to staff. They get a drop-down menu, they can select library, and if they have an issue, it gets directed to the library. So I've been facilitating those. I've been working with staff to facilitate supply ordering, but I will have to say that now that we're, I think, more than a month out, we're doing okay. It certainly is challenging, but I think we're doing okay. Do you have any questions about the positions before I move on? Yeah.
So I was looking on our website. So you're looking for a librarian and a senior librarian, but they're both part-time positions. You're not replacing Aaron with a full-time position?
I think my intent is to fill the position with a full-time position. I think right now, taking on these responsibilities gives me a little more perspective as far as the position and to understand whether we need to reclassify the position. Simply because there are a lot of administrative duties that don't necessarily fall within the scope, in my mind, of what's commonly referred to as senior librarian. So Aaron definitely took on a lot of responsibilities over 20-some years, 25 years here. So I'm looking at that and trying to ascertain what would be best, what would be the best interest within the city. I think that we could possibly look at a reclassification and still remain within our personnel budget.
And then the page position is not on the website either.
It's because I haven't submitted the request yet. I just found out about it. I thought I would alert you now.
Oh,
I was curious about the administrative coordinator position.
Yes.
Is that how you envision taking on some of Aaron's jobs? Or is that a secretarial type position or?
The administrator coordinator, Karen Nakamura, was full-time when she left almost a year ago on leave. She recently retired as of, I believe it was December 29th. She handled a lot of those administrative duties as you referred to. So Aaron took on a lot of those responsibilities in addition. So my hope is to kind of, once the individual's onboarded and trained, to have them trained up on these various administrative duties like supply ordering, what have you, assisting with commission.
so I think I'm the only person who knows Karen at this. So Karen, in the past, was an admin assistant to the director, and then also did other duties as assigned, I know. So this new person would be then reporting to you directly as your
Yes, correct.
admin assistant?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
So if you can define for me who doesn't know what a library page position is?
Oh, yeah, I started as a page, so
I know what a page is.
Like an intern?
page is actually the person that shelves the materials, brings the materials in from the book drop, straightens shelves, pulls holds,
And is there a library science program around here that we could draw interns from? And give them some
That's a
experience?
good question, and I think once we're staffed up, we could take advantage of internships. When I was at the County of Ventura, we recruited 4 interns through San Jose State. That's a very popular MLS degree, Master's in Library Science. Sorry, again, catch me on the vernacular. USC, I understand, has a program, and then my alma mater, UCLA, has a program. But the one that probably has the most potential for internships would be the San Jose State program. I have a lot of familiarity with posting internship opportunities there. A lot of them require the intern be supervised by a certain classification during all their hours here. So that would be challenging currently, but once we're fully staffed, I think that would be an excellent opportunity to have a win-win to give people the experience that they need for their career, but then also give us the additional help that we could always use.
What about El Camino College? Do they have anything there since it's so close?
Not to my knowledge, but there is a library tech program through Long Beach City College. And before I left for Ventura, I was on the board there, and I could reach out to them again and see what sort of potential opportunities there are there.
You had more to your report?
I do. Fortunately or unfortunately, I wanted to mention just an update on the Daily Breeze microfilm digitization project. As of last week, the county has sent UCR, our representative from University of California, Riverside, a draft MOU. That's kind of has to go to them to review, and then if approved, I'm sure there'll be a little back and forth between their county council and UCR's representation to make sure that it's amenable to both. But that is moving forward. If you have any questions about the agreement, I'm more than happy to go into that, but I wanted to give you an update that is moving forward.
On that same subject, I noticed that you mentioned at the last meeting that you were having a meeting with the county, but it didn't show up on your list of things. So did that meeting not happen, or is that?
Oh, yeah, no, that happened. That was actually the last MOU that was crafted was specifically for the county and our library. And because we might benefit from the digitization process, but we're not going to actually be facilitating in the sense that it wouldn't make a lot of sense for us to go to the county, go pick up all that valuable microfilm, then store it for us, and then somehow get it out to UCR. As I understand it, our representative from UCR has stated that they have what's called a white glove program. So they would physically come to the county, pick it up, and then deliver it to newspapers.com. So we don't have to be a middle person there. It'd make more sense. So we did meet with them, had some clarification, and out of that came a draft MOU.
Okay.
What does UCR get out of this?
Well, actually, our representative there, Brian, they're just very much on board with the newspaper preservation. It's a whole department, and their goal is to hopefully preserve as many of these local newspapers as possible. So it's pretty exciting.
Very nice.
The library webpage was launched, I think it was like the 2nd of January. I just want to let commissioners know there. The one issue that we've encountered that we're hoping gets corrected is if you Google a lot of the Redondo Beach sites or the library, the first comes up is the old site and it'll go to an error message. I want to make you aware of that. We've done our best to notify the public. People that have bookmarked the old site will find that it's I don't think it says 404, but it's that kind of an error message. The second down on the list is actually the new site. We're waiting for Google to kind of crawl that and update their search results. But the new site is up and running. We've been able to make some efficiencies already. So for example, the old site, we would link the library card registrations to actual a PDF form. Now the registrations will go directly to our integrated library system, or ILS. So we found that that's a lot more efficient, gets people into the system. They still have to come to the library to show proof of current address to get a physical card that gives them all their privileges. But it takes a step out of the process in the mailing of the cards. That's an efficiency for staff and the public that I think is an enhancement. We're continuing to investigate other things that we can make efficient, like our interlibrary loan, and possibly working with community services on meeting room reservation software. They have a booking management system for all of their facilities. So I know that they're very busy. I ping them every couple of months to see if we can get the meeting rooms on that software as well. But what we have done with the meeting room is that we put up our policies. We also put up the fee schedule so people are aware of the costs associated with the rental of the rooms.
So I don't know how we can correct this, but like if you go Google Redondo Library, none of the things that pop up, it all goes to the error. And so,
There's the second one, if you scroll down.
no, here's one that are, but I'm just saying, I don't know how we go through trying to, because these are all ones that are,
Does anybody know someone at Google?
no. But I don't know how, if we refile, I know you have to boost your search engine, stuff like that, SEO. So I don't know if that's in the,
I'll follow
in the
up
cards,
with-
but it is, so I was trying to look for it the other day and I thought it was just my computer.
If it's any consolation, we're not the only department with that issue. But I want to say, seriously, the whole endeavor has been, I think, hugely successful. I think the page looks better. We've got a lot of positive feedback on it. We knew that there'd be some hiccups. I don't think I didn't anticipate this particular issue. So we'll work with city staff to try to resolve it and see if we can reach out to Google, see if there's anything that they can do to resolve the issue.
Well, one thing also you might do to have a QR code that you could scan coming in. Here's our new website.
Yes,
So that would be nice to.
good
That'd
idea.
be easy.
In fact, this morning I was pulling down all the old QR codes because they were going to the old site. And we have some slides that are on the city display that the QR code goes to the old site. So we're working to update those. Like I said, there are always these things, that crop up, they unanticipated, but we're working to address those. Like I said, by and large, I think the site is a nice site. The positive feedback that we received has been very good. To my knowledge, we haven't received any negative feedback. I probably just jinxed myself, but people like the look and feel of it. We think it's fairly intuitive, and we've been making changes as needed.
What happened to the Southern California Library Co-op site that had all the postcards that you guys spent a whole bunch of time scanning?
Well, that's on my list,
Oh,
sir.
okay, I'll wait then.
No, it's okay. I'm trying to see where, it's down here under archive.
One other question on the website. So I just got an email from you guys saying you're renewing one of my books. Thank you. Have we thought about, you obviously have a lot of database, a lot of names. Have we thought about emailing out saying, here's our new website?
We could definitely do that. There's two forms of email communication. We have the account information that goes to the ILS, and then we also have something called Library Aware that we send our programs out. But we could definitely try to send out a blast to let folks know they need to update their bookmarks and the correct URL for the website. Anything on the website before I move on? Okay. The library collections, we have a few things to mention here. The California State Library Park Passes, staff applied and received a grant for an addendum or an extra grant. So the Park Passes, is everyone familiar with the Park Passes? Yeah. So those have been very successful. The next phase in the grant process was to provide people with a backpack. This backpack would have things like a compass and all these utilities you might use. I have a spreadsheet somewhere I could probably share it with you, with all the accoutrements that come with that. So they applied and received a grant. I believe we're getting 4 of those. In the next meeting, hopefully I'll have one to show off, but it's got a dozen or so items that facilitate, enhancing your park experience, like binoculars, all these different types of things that might assist with that. So we're kind of excited about that. And then they did list the particular items. So if we actually wanted to put our own backpacks together, we could actually purchase the individual items on Amazon. But right now, it's a free grant. Proud of staff for applying and getting those. We'll see how successful they are.
Are you the grant writer now that Aaron's gone?
Wouldn't go that far, but well, I always said this. I said this last year about Karen. Every little thing that would come up, people would say, "Oh, Karen used to do that." And now it's changed from Karen, and Aaron used to do that. But
Now it's Dana.
yeah. One thing I just wanted to mention again, we could go into more detail perhaps or bring it back, but the California State Library's budget is being impacted obviously by the California state budget. So a lot of resources that we were getting for free through the state library are either being discontinued, going to be discontinued, or at risk of being discontinued. That's just because they're not, being funded anymore. Some of these include products like Skillshare, Get Setup, Coursera, BrainFuse, Learning Express, and North Star. Each of these online resources were adopted, I think, mostly during COVID to facilitate people's online learning. If people were at home, they thought this would be an advantage, and honestly, it has been an advantage. But those are probably going to taper off over time. We'd have to take a look at them individually and see if we wanted to renew with those products based on usage and cost, and see if it's something we want to pick up in the future. But it's something to know. Whenever we get an opportunity to get one of these resources, in the past, we would think really hard about it, because if we adopted something everybody liked and then the grant ran out, then we'd be kind of stuck with a lot of unhappy people. But at the same time, on balance, being able to provide something even for a limited time, we felt is important, especially at the cost. So we'll keep you updated on those and let you know what the status is. Any questions about that? So I attended the Friends of the Library board meeting this last Friday. We requested funding for adult programming. They very generously agreed to fund our adult programming. So just so you know, the library's had a history of going to the Friends and requesting funding for the youth programs like summer reading. And a lot of these types of things are supplies for crafts, or to pay performers that come out, or summer reading kickoff is coming up, which I'll mention in a little bit. In my experience, we have gone to the Friends. I've gone to the Friends and other agencies to request funding for adult programs, because we would like to have some of the similar offerings, like performers, like music performers, and then in the case of speakers, a small honorarium. It's not a huge amount of money, but it does go a long way in compensating individuals for their time. I think Amy, our adult program librarian, who I hope to have present at an upcoming commission meeting, has done a lot on very little, and I was going to talk about some of those programs later. But now with a budget, we're hoping that she can expand those program options. Any questions about that?
I did have a question. I don't know where it fits into the agenda ultimately. But apparently in 1998, there was this thing called the Library Foundation, which was different from the Friends. Is that still around to fund activities?
To my understanding, the Friends and Foundation merged. I don't have a date for that, but that happened. And so they're now one 503c, but they go by the Friends. We're at the Digital Library Archive. So a little while ago, we applied and received a grant through SCLC. SCLC is the Southern California Library Cooperative System. And that was a grant called DigiLab, which provided libraries with scanners and equipment to digitize some of their in-house things. Like, I think we have a lot of postcards. Ron, you're probably a little more familiar. I'm sorry, I called you Ron. Commissioner Morocco, I'm sorry. You're probably more familiar with the resource. It's a robust resource.
We were one of the few cities that actually took advantage of it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So again, just like with many of these things, the grant ended, I believe, in July. So I've been working within our operational budget to get an individual agreement with the provider. The provider is, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on this, but working with the provider. So we were able to get an agreement with them, take it under consent because it wasn't a huge amount of money. So that resource is currently available. We just haven't made it public yet because the branding is still SCLC. But in the next few days, we hope to have that link working. So it's kind of exciting for us to be able to make those resources available. Staff on balance felt that the DigiLab Montage site, the software is called Montage, the company's called Autographics. Their software is called Montage. Felt like that interface was a little more intuitive and user-friendly than other software databases, and at the expense and time it would take to migrate to another platform and the cost, all things being equal, it was easier to facilitate a new agreement individually with Autographics to provide that resource. So we worked within our operational budget to kind of make that happen, and pretty excited about that. I don't know if we need to stop and see if we have any participants or comments?
There are no e-comments or attendees.
Thank
so
you.
far.
What actually would make sense is if you see somebody that comes on, interrupt us and tell us, but we'll assume that nobody's on if you don't say anything.
I will do so if you prefer.
I was going to talk a little bit about programs. This last Saturday, we had the Redondo Beach guide dog program, which was very well attended. We had about 62 individuals, I believe. So they came and spoke about the process of raising these puppies from little puppies to become guide dogs for those that are visually impaired. It was a very entertaining and educational program, and we hope to do that one again. We also, Youth Services worked with a store called PCH Hobbies to put on a make and take, which was kind of cool because I'm the individual that remembers putting models together when I was a kid. So the friends funded the cost of just the models, and that's all it cost to put on the program, was that we supply the funds for each particular model. People registered for it. So young people were able to put these models together with instruction, with guidance from their staff, and then actually build cars and then race them. So it was a pretty fun program. We hope to have them back again.
How
That
many
was
participants did you have?
we had 32.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 32. And it was that, I think it was one of those really rainy days that we had. So we were fortunate to have that many folks. We hope to do it again and maybe brand it under STEAM or STEM programs, because it does teach folks, the process of unboxing, reading instructions, following guidelines, and then all the physics that comes from racing these cars. But I was pretty impressed with the program. And then future programs for, I wanted to see if I have a flyer for Black History Month. The book that was selected was called The Personal Librarian, which is a fiction book, but it's based on the real life of Bella da Costa Green, who is J.P. Morgan's personal librarian, and I think responsible for setting up archives. Amy, who hosts our book groups, said it was so captivating. She read it twice. Really enjoyed it. And then we'll have 2 youth story times featuring books by African-American authors. One of the story times will be obviously at Maine, the other one will be at North. That's in addition to our regular book displays and our lobby displays and all that other good stuff. We're also we reached out to the Water Replenishment District, which provides free programs, certainly to libraries, I'm sure more than just libraries. So they're providing 2 programs that we have scheduled in the future. One is called Edible Gardening, The other one is small space gardening. Obviously, the idea here is to encourage folks to be water wise and at the same time enhancing their landscape and their own personal gardens. But that was an example of Amy stretching our dime and reaching out to organizations to put on free free programs for the public. We're also working with Judy Gerber, who is a master gardener, that'll be working with us to present on how to create a themed garden. I'm not a gardener, so maybe someone can explain that a little bit more, but it says here that you can even have a pizza garden, so I'm excited about that, if I can grow pizzas.
pizza.
Tomatoes.
Let's see, summer reading program. We've tentatively scheduled the kickoff for June 8th. And the theme of this year's summer reading program is called Read, Renew, Repeat. So it'll be kind of a recycling theme to that, and probably like
I was going to say, is that the National American Library Association's theme, or do we create our own?
Yeah, it is kind of de facto. There's an organization, I think it's called iReads. I'd have to look that up, but they usually plan out for several years the themes for summer reading, and libraries can either go it alone or they can adopt their theme. The nice thing about adopting the theme is these organizations have again, all the accoutrements, if you want to buy shirts, posters, what have you. Basically, the publicity is pretty much ready to go. The theme's ready to go, and it lends itself to obvious programming, book lists, and story times.
Okay.
Any questions about our programming? Just wanted to give a quick update on our facilities. We're pretty fortunate. We have very few leaks at the main library, and I don't think we have any at North. We're working with Public Works to address those issues. I think they're doing a good job trying to address them, but I want to make commissioners aware of that. Also, our lobby doors have been in disrepair for a little while now, and working with Public Works to get those replaced. If any of you have taken the elevator recently, the outside double doors were replaced a few months ago. We're coordinating with Public Works to get the automatic doors inside the library replaced, as well as the sliding doors and the second set of double doors. It's expensive and time consuming, but certainly worth it. I always say to people, if you're using bungee cords to hold your door open, you probably got some work to do. But we're working on that. We're also working with Public Works, and again, they've been doing an excellent job, but our HVAC system could use some work at the main library. So when it gets a little chilly, we had to place a work order to have the boiler turned back on. But I will say again that they've been doing an excellent job of keeping that, keeping us from freezing, I should say. Also at main library, our public address system has been on the fritz for a little while. We've been working with our IT department to try to remedy that situation. We may have some proposals for a potential replacement system. The PA system is valuable to us. It's not just making announcements about closing. Our staff use it to announce programs. Obviously, if there's an emergency or something else that we need to use it, somebody's car with the lights on, all these different things we've come to rely on our public address system. Suddenly when it's not there, we're going around talking to people, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but we would love to have the PA system fixed. And we're also working with our IT department to fix the phone in the elevator. That's the emergency phone, which it's kind of one of those things that it kind of opens up Pandora's box, because when it first stopped working and staff looked into it, it became apparent that the equipment was antiquated, and that would be much better to update the equipment. So the equipment in there currently that's not working is pretty synonymous with a landline. So they're looking to upgrade it to more of a cellular line. So in my experience in working in facilities, that will give us a much more robust connection and something that's a lot more reliable for folks. But that's why there's a sign in the public elevator that says out of service. We are working to remedy that as soon as possible. Any questions about our facilities? Okay, thank you. See if there's
I think I'm
anything.
astounded at how many
robust
things
report.
need to get done.
Is a very robust.
Well, it's been a busy couple of months for
Long
sure.
list.
Trying to think if there's anything else that I wanted to bring to your attention. Not at this time. Any questions on anything we brought up? Yeah, or anything? Yeah.
You have in your report packet statistics, gate counts and stuff. Anything significant or trend that you're seeing in there?
Well, a couple of things. One is that I think every year we're kind of caught off guard because there's a big dip, but then we realize we're closed for almost 2 weeks. So circulation and gate count is probably a little bit down for the month of December. That's to be anticipated, but not to my knowledge. This is something I think can be, understandable given the break.
And then I noticed in the December minutes, we approved the August 2023 minutes and the October 2023 minutes. Who's responsible for posting that on the, okay.
It'll be me. That's one on my to-do list. I hope to get it done this week and get them posted. They were approved with corrections, so that should be coming.
Okay,
Are you expecting any, oops.
go ahead.
Sorry.
Go right ahead. It's fine.
Any feedback on about the personal librarian because it is rather controversial?
I have not received any.
Okay. It's about a woman who's passing. It's about a woman whose passing is white.
Oh, I don't know. I saw the flyer in the display case. So I didn't think it happened yet.
And that's a very controversial subject in Black culture.
Commissioner Koopman, you got a question or a comment?
Earlier in your report, you had mentioned the possible decrease in state funding to the state library, and how it would trickle down to us in terms of different applications like Coursera and different electronic digital applications. The ones that you mentioned, do our patrons even use any of those? Because I know our popular ones are listed here.
Right.
Hoopla being one, Canopy. But would that really affect us?
I'd be happy to bring back some data on that for the next meeting, but they are utilized. I was just looking at a few. I think it was Coursera in the previous month. We had like 42 usage. With the online learning stuff, they count how many times the site gets accessed, but they also aggregate how many hours of learning occur online. So I'd be happy to bring some of that data back.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, and no public comment?
There are no e-comments and no Zoom attendees.
Okay, can I get a motion to receive and file the director's report?
I motion that.
Okay,
Second.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it's received and filed, and now we move on to the next item, which is item J3.
Two. Open express hours.
Yeah, express hours, sorry, J2. Go ahead, this is yours as well.
Yeah, so in the packet, you have a copy of the policy for our express hours, as well as the agreement patrons need to sign before gaining access. I wanted to give you an update and open it up for discussion regarding this. We hope to launch at least a soft launch within the next few weeks or so. I've been very tentative about that because every time we said we were about ready, there's something comes up. But the big milestone that we were able to achieve was the installation of the passive surveillance system. So, I want to be very clear on this. When those are, operational, they're passive, so no one is physically watching these videos or are monitoring them. They're in sync with Redondo Beach Police Department. So if we need footage, there's a process for requesting that footage. Not only is it passive, but we don't have people actively monitoring it, and there's a process to request it. Currently, no one at the library has access to the video. But certainly in other places that I've worked at, most library administration has access to it, and there's a formal process to request that information and view it. And my understanding is that the video is archived for 30 days. That's the retention policy. Also, the cameras are mounted in such a way that they're only in public spaces, so we don't have them in the staff workrooms, et cetera. We just have them in places where, we can observe. So if something, unintended happens, then we can go back and look at that particular time. Currently, our hope is to have the operational hours from 9 to 11. We could always expand that earlier if successful. Did you have a question?
That's
No, I have a million questions.
Okay, yeah.
That's Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday, that's correct. I'd be happy to share with commission once we feel like we can do our soft launch. Right now, like I said, the camera component, the policies and procedures are in place. The technology is there. We're going to do a test. We're also administratively going to move one of our self-checks from the main library to North. And my understanding is that North used to have two. They brought one back. But my hope is having two at North for the express hours would build in some redundancy. If one of the machines goes down, what have you, I think operationally, we just need two there. Let's see, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We're working on our staff procedures, but basically someone comes in, wants to take advantage of the express hours. Staff would go over the rules with them. They would sign the agreement. We would file that. The privileges are just that, privileges, so they can be ended at any time. In my experience, I've never had to do that, but it's good to have that option there. Any questions or comments?
I read this wonderful document, the policy, which looks like it was written by a team of lawyers, which is very difficult for a customer to understand. It's written in legalese. Right. Is there any way it can be rewritten?
I can certainly inquire about
Did you have to fight
that.
that fight, or?
Well, I was thinking about that, but then, I realized that every time I click an update on my Apple phone, there are pages and pages of information that, I find it very hard to go through before agreeing to an update. I can definitely bring that up, but right now, this was the agreement and policy was vetted by our city attorney to try to balance that between having this system available to the public, but also protecting us.
Yeah, but we start every single sentence with customers. Every single bullet point starts out with customers. And we might make that one sentence at the top.
I appreciate that.
And say customers must, and then
I'll definitely
list.
bring that up.
Then it's easier to see instead of shall do this. And shall is such wonderful language left over from Shakespeare that I find it all very difficult to read as a normal person. Having read 8 million contracts in my life.
This was done before I got here. What is the reasoning that it's only Monday through Thursday and the limited hours?
Well, that's a really good question. Operationally, we found that with the express hours, especially with doing a soft launch and trying to gauge the success of the program, the early morning hours are the most advantageous because staff arrive after those morning hours so they can ascertain if there's anything amiss or anything wrong or something that we need to address. Certainly, other places that I've worked that have implemented the express hours have expanded it to days that the library is closed, but that was after years of operation and assessment. It's harder to, I should say harder, it's more challenging to expand the hours after staff than it is in the morning.
And then how come not Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I guess?
Yeah, which is the most important.
Right, and that's something we could definitely take a
I'm
look.
just curious because I look at this as like, oh, this would be a great time for, I mean, you're leaving the kids, you don't have your kids with you because it's 18 and older, and you come in, and if you're working, you're never going to be able to use these express hours. So I was just curious of the thinking behind
I
it.
think that's something that we could look at based on the success of this.
The soft launch, yeah.
Right,
Okay.
because I agree with you. I think that would be great. I think operationally, again, just drawing on my experience, when we've expanded to a closed date, some libraries I've worked at, I'm not suggesting here, but some libraries that I've worked at have then hired security to come in and close the facility because, someone needs to do a walkthrough, make sure all the doors are locked and shut, that sort of thing. So, we would want to make sure we build in procedures for those closed days. But it's something we could definitely evaluate and explore.
I think it was our concept that it would make that the library could be open when it normally would be closed.
Right.
So avoiding all the full days when the library is closed. Is kind of
Right.
hard.
And I just, in my experience and background, again, I would say that this is a much easier way to test the system and then build on that success after an evaluation period, and we could examine that. I think, I honestly don't think the hours are set in stone. It's something we could definitely revisit and, expand either closed days or even have the library open up earlier on those days. I think the idea was to be conservative at first and cautious and be able to evaluate the success and then go back and say, is there a way we could open up the library then on Fridays for a few hours or all day or Sundays? I think that's hopefully the goal based on the success of having this limited operation.
So do you have metrics set up already that you're going to be able to evaluate it?
Well, the nice thing about the Open Plus system is it provides a lot of data for you. So we would be able to see attendance. We could see attendance versus our regular open days. Attendance at North versus here. We could run the reports a lot of different ways, but it will gather the data. Also nice thing about the Open Plus, and I'd have to, I don't want to commit to this, but my experience in the past was you could also tell some information because we have adult and juvenile cards. Obviously only adults are using it, but you would be able to tell by checkout if some young people are using the system, if they use a self-checkout with their parent or guardian.
And are you going to have panic buttons set up?
There are currently panic buttons for staff at every location. But
there's no staff there. It would seem that
Right.
you want at least the public to know that they're there.
Right. It's something we could definitely look into. In my experience, again, Santa Monica, Ventura, I'm not aware of them having panic buttons for the public. I have seen places where they might put a phone where they can, call out to emergency services if need be. But at the same time, cell phones being ubiquitous, and since we don't know where necessarily an incident might happen, then you're placing phones all over the place. But it's something we could definitely take a look at and evaluate. But again, in my experience, I haven't worked at a library. We've had panic buttons out for the public and in combination with Open Plus or Express Hours.
Are you going to put surveys out for people so you can get positive and negative feedback?
We could definitely do that.
In your experience with this program, what are typically the demographics of people who are using that?
Well, I mean, that's another good question. Homeschoolers, we found folks that are, people that are small business or independent business folks use it for meeting space. But we found a lot of parents have given us feedback at other places that appreciate the hours fit better with their schedule. Also, folks that are on their way to work, for example, those hours are much more convenient to them than, let's say, 11. So if we're able to expand even earlier, then people on their way to work might pick up an audiobook or whatever, and then it's easier for them to come in and print something or, print their tickets, what have you. But I would say what I've heard back from the parents in this regard was that they appreciated, for whatever reason, they felt that especially children with special needs utilized the library more because it was a little quieter, there wasn't as much going on, and they could schedule time with their children to bring them into the library and experience the library.
But on this, it says at least 18 years of age, but they can bring their kids with them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I had a comment about the policy too. I wasn't sure if this was drafted by Open Plus and that they shared it with you, or this was drafted by our city manager. Not city manager, our city attorney. Is it possible to change the word customers to patrons? Because we don't refer to them as customers, we refer to them as patrons.
Well,
I also think it would do a mind shift with people. I think when they hear customer, they're paying for something, right? As opposed to a patron.
I can definitely make that query. And, in all honesty, one of the reasons why I brought these is to get outside opinions and views because, we kind of get caught up in the operation of it, implementation, and it's good to get that perspective. So thank you. We'll see about that.
If you're changing this, because it does, when it says, be at least 18 years of age, but they can bring their kids, and it doesn't spell that out here. So I wasn't sure on that because.
When you started saying bring your kids in, I
This
was
is an
like, what?
accompanying
It says you
minors
can't have to be
on
18.
the second bullet point.
Oh, okay. I was just looking at the rules up here, yeah.
I'm going to plead ignorance on
There
this
we go, yeah.
question. Do we have an anti-food policy in the library already?
And anti-what?
Can't bring food and drink into the library
Actually,
and consume it?
by the time I arrived here, that rule has been relaxed. And again, based on my experience, especially here at Main Library, it's amazing to see just how respectful folks are. Sometimes I'll come downstairs and a place might smell like McDonald's French fries. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but people are actively consuming refreshments that they got at Starbucks or McDonald's. And again, that revision predates me, but after years of experience with it, it has not been a problem. People have been very respectful, and I have not seen any furniture collections or anything damaged because people brought food in. And we have very little trash as a result of that. People have finds a receptacle, and I might come in the morning. And actually, in the morning, that's not the case, because when I come in the morning, our cleaning service is already taking care of things. But if I'm here late at night, there'll be bags of McDonald's in the trash, but it's respectfully put away. I have yet, again, I could be jinxing myself, but I have not seen a mess or anything damaged and I think honestly, that's made the library on balance a better place because people feel like they can go grab a Starbucks drink or a quick snack, come in the library, use it respectfully. And, people aren't trying to hide food. I think, and then staff aren't the food police. I think on balance, it's been a good thing, and we haven't seen really any negative side effects on that.
Okay. And then I noticed that the revocation can happen for it's not just library policies, it's city policies, rules, regulations, and procedures. Are those going to be spelled out so people understand it? Because if I would go back to the city attorney, it's like you've created something that people won't necessarily know if they violate it.
Right. And I think that obviously was probably intentionally broad. We can definitely bring that up and get the rationale behind that. But I think, it was, just like our rules of conduct. We cover some things that are blatantly illegal, but we don't go into all all of the things where someone might get asked to leave. I think it would be challenging to list all the possible infractions that might, because we're not as creative as some people might be. But I'll say this too. Again, in my experience, and I could be proven wrong, we have not had to block someone's use, and we take that very seriously. So if we even ban someone for the library, it's usually, it's either extremely serious action that occurred, or it's repetitive infractions. So while that is a little broad, we do see it as a privilege, and we do take the banning or revocation of service extremely serious.
Yeah, because something like smoking in the library, you may see that going on in North Branch, but how do you stop that or make it clear that it's not allowed?
Well, I mean, to a specific point, obviously we have signs that say no smoking, what have you, but I get your point. There are a lot of things under an umbrella. I think that, again, in my experience, for people that have made use of the express hours, really take ownership and report issues if they see any, and then we can address them on an individual basis. And then due to the very nature of Open Plus, we have a pretty good accurate record of who's entered the library, and we can go back and see. But again,
There's a
it's
bullet
been
point
very
about,
infrequent that we've got to look at the film. Yes.
there's a bullet point about if announcements are made during the course. So that means,
What was that? Sorry.
there's a bullet point here about if announcements are made during the course of the hours, all customers agree to comply with directions.
Right.
That assumes that the police or the firemen have a way to get in?
No, what that refers to is when you implement Open Plus or Express hours on a closed day, for example, the system does have the ability to do automated announcements that tell patrons that the library is closing. So that's more intended to that. But again, it's probably intentionally broad to be a little bit more encompassing and not so narrow. But the intent and spirit of that is that if we're to be able to expand to a regularly closed day, like a Friday or a Sunday, there is an automated system that we have speakers in place, and then that would notify people the library's closing in an hour, please exit the library. It goes through the whole process, collates.
Not that there's a fire or a tsunami coming or...
Right. But, again, putting that verbiage in place, puts it there for the future in case we are able to make those types of public announcements. Everything's getting more and more sophisticated. It could very much be that again, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but, would there be a way that they would want to communicate a shelter in place, for example? You'd want people to comply with that.
Yeah.
Any other comments? Question? What would you like us to do with this? Receive and file it, or is there some specific?
No,
action
receive
you
and
want?
file. I will review the queries that I've got tonight and bring them up at my next director's report to see if we can make any changes. I do really think the customer to patron would be a good one. I don't know if there is an intent behind that, legally, but I agree. And I'll see about the verbiage. I can't make any guarantees as far as making it a little more palatable to me, but I will follow up with those duly noted.
So is there any public comment?
When can we go in with this, sign this waiver?
Did you want to?
There are no e-comments or attendees for this item.
Thank you. You had a question about
When
implementation?
when is this going to be implemented for us to go, the soft opening, is you think?
I would say my hope is the end of the month. I want to be a little conservative and say March, but I will definitely keep the commissioners posted as far as the status. Like I said, there's a few things operationally that we would like to address, but the big major challenges I think we've been able to accomplish over the years. So I appreciate everybody's patience on this.
Can I get a motion to receive and file this report?
I so move.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, it's received and filed. We move to member items and referrals to staff. I'll start to my left. Commissioner Koopman, do you have anything?
No, I mean, other than just, I always ask about the mid-year budget, see if there's any surplus that we can ask for.
That's a good question. Next week, we will be meeting with the finance team and we will be reviewing the mid-year budget. I will say that before Erin left, she did do a budget report and we were on track. So that's always a good sign. We're where we should be mid-year, but we will bring up some of those topics to fiscal when we meet with them and try to ascertain if there's any savings or a need. One thing, I have been contemplating is, and I think the commission has done this before, is potentially things are obviously always increasing as a cost of inflation, and our dollar doesn't go as far as it used to a few years ago. So it might be worth exploring a request to just kind of, for lack of a better phrasing, a COLA for our collections budget, especially since we'll be losing some of these online resources to the state, ebooks, print books, everything is going up. So, even though I honestly have received a lot of compliments from the public on our collection, the collection budget is not going as far as it used to.
Now that there's a new website, I should say, and once we can figure out how to get on it, I want to learn how we might use that more to announce the reader, books for this month, or, the Super Bowl, for instance. Here's 5 books related to the Super Bowl that would be great reads. How do we use it as a tool to, we've got these 5 bestsellers, this came in, stuff like that. So that might be something down the line we use more as a communication tool.
Absolutely. One of the nice things to come out of unintended consequence was what we call the book river or book carousel. So that's something that's on the homepage if you get a chance to check it out. Currently, it's set up with our system to display new arrivals, so it's promoting things that are new to the collection. As we learn to use that more, we can better curate that. I always feel like you're absolutely right. There's opportunities there. We can create book lists that we can cycle through. We can create sub-pages where we promote certain topics. And then I don't want to get too in the weeds, but given that librarians like to catalog things, there are ways potentially to utilize the item record, both print and electronic resources, and adjust it in such a way that, and I'll use the example of Black History Month, we could probably curate that carousel so that it would always be refreshed with our new titles that are under that subject heading. But yeah, very good point. Thank you.
Well, even not just the books, like Origin, was that new movie that came out after, based on
Oh, yeah.
the cast, stuff, it's a multimedia. But do we have a newsletter that goes out?
We do, and I encourage everyone to sign up.
Well, I tried to sign up on the old website, and it kept
I'll send
having error
everyone the
message.
link.
So yeah, maybe. But that is another thing that we could use that to get more people to sign up for the newsletter and get special inside scoop.
One of the things that I had started, and it has fallen by the wayside for a lot of reasons, but was library briefs. That was a note on key things happening at the library each month sent to each commissioner and the mayor and the city manager, saying the key things like the beach passes, or state park passes. Beach pass, the state park passes. One of the things that I saw was it should come from the whole commission, not from me. I was sending it under my name, which is a bit ridiculous.
You have Brown Act issues with that. So it would have to either come from you or from the library staff itself.
Right, and I think we should do that. I think we need to communicate with the commissioners, the city commissioners, about what's going on at the library to keep them interested, because at one point they thought they would just give us to the county.
So to follow up on your point, and I've seen other commissions do it, they designate and it rotates around somebody to go to the city council and express what's happening with the commission. Because we're technically part of the,
Government.
we're the representatives of the council that deal with the library stuff. So we probably should be reporting back, but you actually go to almost every meeting I've seen you at. So, but it's something that we can talk about and agendize if you want to, about rotating it around. We have 12 meetings, usually end up about 10 of them. There's enough of us that we can just pick one once a month to go there. Because I think they'll be interested, the community's interested in it.
Might I draw on the commissioner's experience and see, would it be worthwhile and valuable to have a subcommittee that talks more about this kind of marketing, the library and encompass that particular procedure, but maybe some other items? I want to be respectful of the Brown Act, but I have seen other commissions do that.
So that's actually tying into my referral to staff, but I'm going to wait till
Okay.
everybody else
Okay.
gets into it.
I do think that, to your point, we talked about that before, the marketing of it overall is something I think we need to do better. And a lot of it, we were hamstrung because of the capabilities of the old website, so, but we can look
Right.
at what we could, not knowing what's available on the website.
The only thing I'll caution everyone at is that we are pretty lean staffing wise, and it does make it challenging. It doesn't make it impossible. We can do that. We can explore options, and I'm more than happy to do that. I think it's a great idea. We definitely need it for sure. It's just challenging given our current staffing levels, but we can also design and plan for when we're fully staffed and what to do in the intermediary. So there's not putting up any roadblocks, just, it is what it is. But, certainly if you set up something that is efficient, then it doesn't necessarily have to be that much work.
Could that be also a position, because El Camino does have marketing, for instance, that, we look at an intern who might want to do marketing from El Camino.
Right.
Well, and I think we have several audience for marketing, because it's not just the patrons of the library. It's the people who aren't patrons of the library. It's the commissioners who want to give us to the county. It's,
I don't think it could hurt us to promote ourselves better, so, on any side.
You're right, absolutely.
So if you want, we can agendize that for the next meeting rather than having a general
Definitely.
discussion about it. I think that would probably be a good thing. Did you want to have that as an agenda item for next meeting?
Sure, sounds great.
Okay, and you want to second it?
yes, indeed.
Okay, so we'll have like a marketing segment where we can brainstorm and come up with all sorts of different ideas and maybe even get some members of the public to come in. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so that'll be on your list. Do you have any more you want to talk about? I got a bunch of things, and I'll start with the one that I think we were just left off on. So our commission mission is to plan for a development, extension, improvement of library facilities, and perform other duties that from time to time may be assigned by the city council. You were great having the coffees with us. You got us talking, but it was not clear on the expectations and what role you would like to see us playing with regards to the library. And maybe that's part of the marketing thing that we need to talk about, but I would love to have an opportunity either in your director's report in the future to talk about what you see us doing to help you. And I'll give one example. There's a volunteer recognition program that you're doing. You talked about subcommittees. That would be a good subcommittee to actually, because you don't have the people to it. We're the volunteers anyway, so we may have some opportunities to explore with you, your staff, or Carrie, a significant amount of the laboring and come up with a proposal for you, either at a meeting or if it's a subcommittee, something less. But I'm not getting clear messages from you about how you would like us to help. I mean, I've heard stories about, I guess, when the budget, can we write a letter for the budget stuff? That seems to be the limit on it. But really, have you tell us how we can benefit the library. So that's my staff referral. Hopefully in the next director's report, you can actually specifically focus on some of that. The other thing that I noticed is that we had a discussion, and it's in the minutes, about the fine-free and expunging fines, and we had agreed to agendize the items, and it was 2 months since our last meeting. Has there been any information about this $170,000?
I don't have an update on that, and that's why I was hesitant to agendize that. And I think in the minutes it states that I cautioned that we might not have a full report in time for the next meeting. We're still working on getting that information, but I do believe that if we wanted to proceed, based on commission's feeling on this, we could certainly draft a letter requesting that the library implement fine-free and examine ways to address that remaining money that's out there. But I don't not have an update, and I caution to talk too much about it till I have actual information on that.
Well, I think they're like two different things.
Absolutely.
Writing off previous fines that are 10 years old or people that died versus fine-free. But you said that you were meeting with the finance department people, so they should be able to kick out a report that gives you an aging, even if it doesn't have to have names, but it could say, okay, these fines are, over so many years old. Because looking through some of the old minutes, there's a significant part of the budget that came from fines. I don't know where that plays in now, but some of the there was talk about writing off fines over 5 years old. But we need the information in order to be able to, again, to assist. And that goes back into what can we do to help you? Because obviously we talked about last time, it needs to go to the city council or the city manager to figure out what the next step is to deal with it. But if it's really, as you called it, I think you said it was languishing fines that are never going to be collected, let's focus on it and get it behind us. And
Right. But yeah, to your point, we are meeting with finance. We will definitely bring that topic up. That was the idea, part of the meeting for sure, to bring that up and address it. But again, moving forward, I don't think that, to your point, there's any reason why we couldn't draft a letter requesting that, I'm trying to remember the time frame, but I think it's more like May and June, that when the fee schedule comes up, that we request that library fines, the library goes fine-free, given that, as I stated in my last report, 2/3 of the libraries around us, surrounding libraries, have gone fine-free. The revenue from fines has decreased a lot over time. There's a lot of different reasons for that, but one of the reasons is my predecessor modified our circulation to have automatic renewals. So usually what happens is somebody, again, we can talk about this more later, but the point is that that's seen a huge decrease. And I think in my report, it was between $10,000 and $12,000 that we received in fines, which, as you said, to your point, going back several years, it was like $70,000. It was a substantial amount of money. We've seen that diminish. So yeah.
when we do get to the fine-free discussion, it's going to be tremendously helpful to have some of the empirical data and not just guessing about how things play out. So this is a good first start so we can see what's been carried over time. And I don't even know if we have a collection policy.
We have a collection development policy on the website.
Okay. Then I'll go to the website and find that. And then there was one other thing. Is it possible at some point in time to get a meeting use report? We have a meeting room over here. It looks like we have 2 meeting rooms, possibly over here, one in the North Branch. And it's a great resource and we have pricing for it, but we have no idea about the utilization rate. So is the big meeting room used once a month just for special city events? Can it be divided for multiple uses? And see if we can get some more of the people in the city to utilize it. I know it's a staff thing too, but if you're going with the open policy in the North Branch, it's probably not that difficult to get this thing set up at the main branch here over here.
Right. I would say it's predominantly used by the Library for Library Programs. Secondly, it's used by our other departments for training. We regularly schedule PD for training. We have blood drives in the room, but I'd be happy to put that together. I can't say what I have for next commission meeting, but there are certainly, challenges inherent in the current setup for the room, but it is a beautiful room. A lot of folks use it. We had the, I think it was a GPAC meeting recently there. So it's well utilized. But yeah, we could put something together for commission at some point in the future.
And we've talked about it before to continue the same topic of having the commissioners, the city commissioners be able to use our meeting rooms without being charged an arm and a leg for them. Because they're doing it, this is their volunteer time too, to meet with their constituents. And they don't have money to pay for it. And I know there's at least the 4th and 5th districts are up north. And I know they'd like to use the library meeting room and it's just, they can't afford it.
You're talking about the council members having their meetings here?
Council people, I should say.
Yeah.
Keep saying commissioners, city council people. But they're doing this on their own time and they would have to pay our fees.
I'm not so sure about that, but.
I'm sure about it.
Well,
There's an exception we can make for council members.
that's something, again, I'd have to bring back some more information, but I would say in the interim, our policy is on the website and it kind of details all the parameters. And again, that was revised prior to me joining, but it was relatively new. So a lot of those policies and procedures have been revised or actually added. But to my knowledge, unless it's a city department, we charge.
I would like it not to be that way.
Okay, any other member referrals to staff? Okay, so our next meeting is set for 7 p.m. on March 4th in the Redondo Beach Council Chambers, 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach, California. It's the intention of the city of Redondo Beach to comply with American with Disabilities Act in all respects. If as an attendee or participant at this meeting, you will need special assistance beyond what is normally provided, the city will attempt to accommodate you in every reasonable manner. Please contact the city clerk's office at 310-318-0656 at least 48 hours prior to the meeting to inform us of your particular needs and determine if accommodation is feasible. Please advise us at that time if you will need accommodations to attend or participate in the meetings on a regular basis. An agenda packet is available for 24 hours at www.redondo.org under the city clerk. So can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second?
And I know we don't have any public comment. So I will adjourn this meeting at 8:24 p.m. Thank you for attending and thank you staff for all you do to make it go smoothly. We're adjourned.